latest technologies in the world, but it is not the least one, it is the most important one. It's usually difficult to manage the latest panel, but I would like to have very distinguished leaders from different industries. We have from Bosch, we have from SGH Software Solution, we have from Sativian Group, and we have from APM Terminal. I would like to ask our panelists to come to the panel. Mr. Powell, Mr. Brandon, Mr. Sun, and Mr. Leo, please. Shall I say? Please give an applause to our speakers and panelists, also for yourself. So, I would like to start from this point. In human history, there were sometimes we used to jump to the new curve of innovation, work style, system, and life. I believe we can call electrification one of them, Ford is one of them, and definitely AI and digitalization is one of them, which is going to change a lot and impact a lot in our life. It is recently come, but it impact already. We can see AI alone itself consuming electricity and energy more than countries like Japan. So the future of sustainability pretty depends on how we're gonna adapt AI.
We cannot hear you.
You speak louder. That also can be, but I don't like my panelists to do that for me. Just a minute. Okay, that's good. Hello? Yeah. I believe AI adaptation in our life, system, technologies, and most important in our corporation, organization, will be pretty important, and we cannot ignore it. It is definitely inevitable. And I would like to see how our speakers from different industries, which they are leading very big companies, how they are adapting it, how they are handling it. I hope I will cover most of the questions, but however, if you have your own question, specifically in relevant industry, please check QR and prepare your questions. In the end of the panel, if we didn't cover it, we would love to also cover that area. I would like to ask our speakers to start introducing themselves. We can start with Mr. Powell. I got you in a very right time.
Thank you, Habib. No, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be on the panel today. My name is Pavel Poskaguken. I'm the general manager of SGH Asia. We are a German IT company. We've been in Vietnam for 15 years. We have about 100 software developers, focusing on digital solutions, cybersecurity, AI, and sustainability. Thank you.
Awesome. Please, Dr. Brendan.
So hi everybody, again it's a really great pleasure to be here. I'm really looking forward to the discussions today. So I'm with the Bosch Group here in Vietnam. Bosch has been here for the last 30 years as a sales organization, but also development and manufacturing. Personally myself, I'm leading the office here in Hanoi and with a specialization in ADAS systems for automotive users.
Impressive. Mr. Leo.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leo van Drunen. I'm representing APM Terminals. We have been recently working with our partner Hateco to complete berths 5 and 6 in Lac Bien in Haiphong, the most modern and green container terminal in the north of Vietnam. And happy to be here this afternoon to talk about this topic.
Thank you. And Mr. Sun.
Yeah, okay, good afternoon everyone. My name is Sun Pui. I am the country vice director of Sativian Group. Our expertise cover chemical, plastic fiber, and also renewable energy. So we have a strong presence in 28 countries, heavily focused on in Europe area. We have been working in renewable energy sector for more than 7 years. and we see that there is a rising demand of applying AI in the energy sector. So that's why I'm very happy to be here to share with you on about some insights. Yeah.
Thank you. So to start, I think it is pretty important that we see how these companies and industries define sustainability digitalization strategies in their companies. The perspective of the company and the people who apply is more important than what we are applying. So I would like to ask all the panelists to see the perspective how they are applying sustainability and digitalization and how they define the strategy in their company, in their industry. So we can start with Mr. Sun.
Right. Okay. So because we are renewable energy, right? So of course we generate green energy. But for us, sustainability is not just about generating renewable energy, green energy, but how to make it sustainably and how to make it reliable, how to have the sustainable future. So that's why to us the data management, the how to make it controllable and how to apply it in giving us a very clear vision and clear report of the renewable energy that we created, the impact, environmental impact that we created. That is very important. And AI and digitalization is the key to make it happen. So to us is the combination between energy creation and also digitalization and AI application.
Thank you, Mr. Leo.
Thank you. The container industry is maybe can be seen as conservative, traditional, but yet digitization is the enabler, let's say, to make sustainability measurable and achievable. So by having real-time information, you can see what the energy consumption is, and you can identify how to optimize your energy consumption. We have a lot of equipment on the terminal, so that is very relevant. Of course, optimization, also here, digitization is important. You want to run your operation as efficient as possible, and thereby taking out waste in your operations. And last but not least is automation. So we are making more and more use of automated equipment, and automated equipment is also very efficient, and you let's say waste less fuel. And so that all contributes to a more sustainable operation.
Thank you. Dr. Brennan, would you mind to share your mind about?
Yeah. So at Bosch, I mean, our slogan is invented for life, and I think sustainability is a key part of our mission. We take a very holistic view to sustainability, so we're looking at areas of climate, of water conservation, but also the people aspects, recycling, and so on. So these are all aspects which we are looking at. If I take a look at the climate area, for example, so Bosch has already invested millions and millions of dollars in climate sustainability. Actually, since 2020, I think we've been carbon neutral. So we put a lot of effort into this, and all of our plants worldwide are following guidelines to increase, to keep sustainability. If I take a look at Vietnam specifically, our plant in Dong Nai is doing two main activities. One is we are fully equipped with photovoltaic, so solar panels across the plant, and we were also very early, we started even before this became legislation, started with water recycling and conservation. So these are things which we're doing. Also in our offices, I mean, we have some 4,000 people working in Vietnam. That it's important that we have a good facility management, that we are also looking to reduce waste, and to have sustainable work practices. So looking at digitization, I think this is really important that we are able to measure and optimize our systems, and not only from the point of view of the environment, but at the end of the day, and I've been discussing this with a lot of people, it's also an advantage for us financially to reduce waste and to save resources.
Thank you. Mr. Pavel, would you like to share your mind about the solution provider and software development company in this?
Yeah, thank you, Ali. I think, for me, speaking as an SME, right, I think sustainability for us would be more implicit rather than explicit. So it's how we run our operations. So we try to be much less paper-based, which is sometimes a challenge in Vietnam. We try to encourage hybrid work, so the employees don't have to travel to the office all the time. We have like meetings, we try to do it by teams, so we really, our clients expect it from us, our employees expect it from us. So we always try to find ways to kind of, try to be a little bit more energy efficient. We're actually even looking at, for example, putting renewable, like electric bike chargers in our office parking lot. I think that's apparently not as easy as we thought it would be, but I think that's something we want to do as well. So we're always looking at ways to really walk the talk, although we are a smaller organization, right? And then maybe one more thing I'll touch upon it later in the panel is like we have the ISO certificate for security, but I think there's also one now being made for sustainability, so we're also looking into that because even our clients in Europe would eventually expect that we have that actually as something that we showcase as an organization.
Thank you. So we see sustainability and AI is mandatory for all the companies. It reminds me the former CEO of Nokia, which quote, "We did nothing wrong, but somehow we lost." So I believe this migration is pretty necessary for all the companies to somehow adapt with it. And in adaptation of the new technology, we usually see some barriers. I would like to see some companies going fast, some companies going slow, so definitely the scale of adaptation for all of the companies is different, and you are facing some barriers and challenge in this migration. I would like to see how you handle these barriers and what are the problems you have with sustainability and AI adaptation and digitalization in most of your industries and companies. Mr. Pavel, would you like to follow up your?
I think the challenge with, when you use AI, how do you measure, for example, your carbon footprint, right? Because every time your team uses, GPT or Perplexity or whatever, you never know how long or how much energy a query takes. So I think it's about managing what the tools are being used for. Of course, we encourage our teams to experiment with AI within a confined space. Obviously, you don't put client data into like an open GPT, things like that, right? So I think it's having the right processes in place and what tools are being used, how they're used. So for example, if you're proofreading contracts, please go for it, right? Don't print a bunch of papers and read them by hand. Just put them in the GPT and see there's inconsistencies. I think that's a good use of AI, and also I think justifiable in terms of, let's say, energy usage, right? But if you're just simply using an AI tool to generate images for a marketing slide and you have already a template, that's maybe not the best approach, right? So not to go into too much detail, I think it's important to have a company owner for the AI policy to define how you use it, what you use it for. You can go to access rights and approvals and things like that, but essentially you need to have a policy, you need to start with a roadmap instead of sort of, kind of going crazy and letting it run out of control, if you know what I mean.
Thank you. Dr. Brendan, how do you handle these barriers, and what are the most barriers you are facing in the big industry like Bosch?
Yeah, so I think with AI, what we're definitely seeing is there is a plethora of tools, there's so much technology available, different language management models, agentic AI and so on coming up. So what I'm seeing, my experience is with the challenge is two challenges. One is in the culture, and one is in the uses for legislation. I think you just touched on it a little bit just now. So if I'm looking at the usage, right? So how to use it reliably, correctly, not not using it for confidential data, how to interpret the results which you're getting, these things. So at Bosch we have developed a very clear codex, a guideline, how we want to deal with AI from from the ethical aspects as well as how to use it. And we're looking at very simple checklists when we're looking at putting in a new tooling or using a new application, that we can go through and see if this is fulfilling the codex. So this is one aspect, and this is a challenge because this has to be updated constantly, depending on the new tooling, the new ways of working with AI. And the second thing is really the culture. So the associates really are struggling to catch up or to keep up with all the new advances, right? So how to use it properly, when to use it. You also gave a great example. It should not just replace your already available automation processes, but should really have a value add to support the associate in what he or her is actually doing.
Thank you. Mr. Leo, how is it in the logistics?
I think the challenges we have in the container terminal industry, I think are data related. As one example, you need clean, structured, quality data, and not from fragmented sources, so to say, which I think you will find with system use on the terminal, the different systems, that there is a step to be taken there. One of the other challenges probably related to that's HR related, so you have to upskill your staff, they need to be trained how to work with AI, and they need to understand and let's say develop the trust in solutions that the model will develop, that you can make use of those, so they need to understand how that actually works. So that is a challenge, and I think also from a regulatory perspective, we are an international company, but of course there's also local regulations, so that is something that sometimes also can be a hurdle that you have to take.
Thank you. Mr. Sun?
Okay, so I think the other speaker already covered those main areas to us. As we are in the renewable energy sector, rooftop solar sector, we see that the market is developing rapidly and there is new technology every day. So before it was solar PV and inverter, now it's battery energy storage coming, and EV charging system also being developed very quickly here. And each system, each technology have different system, different dashboard, right? And our problem is we want to make sure we want to achieve our profitability goal. And without data, without centralized data from a different technology, we are not able to give a good analysis in our financial table, our return on investment. So that's why we need a kind of a centralized platform that connect different technology and that can gather all data together. And from that we have a better understanding and better clearer view on investment possibility.
Thank you. As we see, there are different limitations in different industries. But however, limitations never stop us. AI is the only thing we create in the human history innovation that can make a decision, even more than all the technologies we have now. So this is the only technology can replace human on the decision-making side. So when we are going to adapt this kind of technologies, I believe the safety and AI decision reliability is pretty important to be addressed. Dr. Brendan, you are dealing with too many critical systems on your industry. How do you handle and care of the safety or reliability and the decision making on AI?
Okay. So thanks. I think this is a really interesting question for any industrial process which is wanting to use AI. From my experience, I would say there is a multi-step approach to this, to making sure that AI is safe. So the first level, I would say, is to make sure that the systems are encapsulated. So there's a multi-layered approach to safety. So confining the decision making within a certain scope, but also then having physical systems in place to give boundaries to what the AI model can do. For example, in a motor, the motor has a certain range which cannot be physically exceeded, even if the model is asking for something different. So we try to put in these sort of redundant safety, even if the AI is making a completely wrong decision. The second point is in the design of AI. So even before we let any sort of AI onto any production system, we make sure it's tested and validated. So we spend a lot of time running through historical data. We also use virtual data, virtualization, to run through, check all the corner cases, exceptions, to see that it's not doing anything strange based on experience. Probably the third area is we always try to keep a human in the loop. So especially for safety critical systems, we will ensure that there is a human who is checking the results and actually making the decisions. I think for non-critical areas, making a picture or whatever, then we can let the AI go wild, do what it wants. But for any sort of critical system, we make sure that there's a human making the actual final decision. Then probably the final aspect is to ensure that the AI is also learning, right? So even once the AI is in production, we're still generating data continuously, and we're also looking that it's learning and utilizing to refine its capabilities in decision making. Maybe one other point at this step is we always try to define or build into our AIs that if it's not 100% certain of a decision, that it's coming back with a question. I think this is important that we can build in also these capabilities, that they're not sort of guessing to come up with any answer. And then, of course, the final thing, there is a underlying legislation. There are industry standards and norms which we are wanting to fulfill. Yeah.
Thank you. So if you're not going to deal with something like Skynet or Terminator in your companies, I think applying this procedure step by step, the safety is pretty matter. So definitely after talking about the safety, I believe the cost management and the financial aspect for preparing a strategy for AI is pretty important. Specifically, this industry is pretty dynamic. We can see the companies bringing their AI strategies from like 1 year to 6 months even. And I heard recently, read in an article that every 72 days, the technology we are dealing, and AI technology that we are dealing, is totally different level. So from your perspective, Mr. Pavel, how do you think the companies can have a better solution in financial management or preparing their financial strategy, cost, and optimization for AI implementation?
So for finance, maybe I just give an example for this. So we have our HQ is in Germany, in Hanover, right? So we have 100 people there, R&D, sales, and so on. So my boss, he has an AI PA now. So hiring a PA in Germany is a bit more expensive than in Vietnam. So he thought, let's get one of these AI tools. I'm not sure, it might be Perplexity, I'm not sure, but it's like the most professional package you could get. Cost a couple of $100. Still cheaper than getting a PA. So it's booking his appointments, it's even automating some email replies, it's doing a lot of PA tasks. I think he's now trying to get it to book flights and stuff. I'm not really sure how successful that is, but this is the way it's going. So in fact, I think there's very clear cases how financial pressures are eased because of AI. And you need to look at more examples like that rather than just say, oh, it's going to cost us, right? I think there's a lot of savings you could do, and as you mentioned, with technology getting better, it's going to save more money. Having said that, he did cancel a meeting with me once. He asked his PA to cancel the meeting. It was still in my calendar, so, food for thought. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. It's great to hear that you not mentioning the replacing the human or HR as a solution base. I believe after safety and cost, we can go to the topic of efficiency gap and implementation of the efficiency with AI in the companies. I'm from energy sector, and Mr. Sun also here in energy sector. How do you find this efficiency impact in your industry by application of AI in your field? Definitely it's connected to the green.
I think it's pretty relevant to our industry, our sector, because we have to deal with a lot of data from our rooftop system, right? So we receive like very real-time data generated by our rooftop system, and how to apply it, and how to predict the performance, or how to foresee the potential error from the system. That is very important, and that's where we see the role of the AI. And within the renewable energy and rooftop solar sector, since the beginning in our components of rooftop solar system, we already have kind of software where it allows us to receive real-time data and gather the information and generate kind of predictive maintenance report and analyze it. So it's to answer your question, it's very important to us, and we actually apply it in our action day by day. But of course, after that is how we can judge the performance of the report generated by AI. And I agree with Brandon's opinion before, where the human should be the final validation of the AI report. So that's what we are doing here in our group. But I also want to take a very interesting example from our community, like after hearing the very inspiring story from Pavel. So one time I actually heard from our HR recruiter, and the way she talked to the employee, and she said, okay, please don't use AI, because we're going to discover that you're using AI in your test result. So I asked her, why not? Why not? The thing is not like to not use AI, but the thing is how to apply it to generate something good. And that is the work that we see our engineering, our energy consultant do day by day. AI helping them a lot, and their role is to validate and to assess whether the data is correct and utilized for us or not. So yeah, my point is like to support the application of AI in renewable energy sector.
Thank you. Use AI, but also aware of the hallucination AI can bring to the table. I think if you want to see very complex system, I think the container terminals can be one of them. The energy, the time, the safety, and managing and bringing all this together to handle. I think it's pretty impossible without automation, AI system, or it require a lot of human effort, specifically with the amount of the logistics we have in our terminals. Mr. Leo, I would like to see how you are applying AI more efficiently in your system in this crazy amount of scale. When you're looking at the terminals from up, it looks like you are looking at ant house. So it's too many of them. So I would like to see how you are applying it, and would like to see your perspective on that.
Thank you. As I mentioned before, AI and digitization are enablers for our sustainable strategy, but of course also the focus is on improving our profitability, and that all, let's say, is related to how efficient you can do your operations. So operational focus is on the vessels that we handle, reducing the vessel berthing time, but of course also on the yard strategy. You don't want to rehandle a container too many times. So we use those tools to make our operations as efficient as possible. And for that you need a lot of data, and what we mentioned before, use that to come to good yard strategies and an optimized operation. Our operations are very equipment intensive, so one of the things that we also use AR for is real-time monitoring of the condition of our equipment. A digital twin, so in the operational control room we can see the condition of the equipment with several measures, and we can plan and identify when the time is there to do preventive maintenance, and by that we avoid breakdowns and creating waste and inefficiencies. So those are examples of how we use those systems. I think also automation is an example where, let's say, there is a contributor to, let's say, a more sustainable and efficient operation. At the same time, this is also making our operations safer because we actually eliminate the human being, let's say, present on a container terminal. That's.
Thank you. I think it's efficiency in AI pretty important. I will give the example on, for example, Vietnam facing some typhoons like Yagi last year. I think the prediction that they are able to manage the teams, the company's operation, automation, pretty important. But how it gonna happen? I would like to see how Vietnam, as a country which is developing very crazy way in all the aspects. Vietnam is the second country in aspect of the generative AI developers in the region. In aspect of the renewable energies, top notch in the region. So, but AI application in industrial level, I see some big corporations, they have their own methodologies, but SMEs or maybe some corporations in Vietnam, they're not having it. I would like to see our panelists' perspective about how government, technology providers, industries, how they can come along to solve this problem. What are the requirements for the next step that Vietnam takes, or the companies or industries in their relative fields takes to make it applicable and achievable. We can start with Pavel.
Yeah, thank you, Hadi. I think obviously this is a really critical point you made there, because the great example we can make is you and I are both on the Eurocham Digital Sector Committee. So the Eurocham, for those who don't know, has over a dozen different sector committees in green finance, law, automotive, and so on and so forth. So the Digital Sector Committee, we do this work pro bono next to our real jobs, where we advocate on behalf of European businesses on many of the regulations that come out in Vietnam. So harmonization of the Personal Data Protection Act, the Cybersecurity Law, EU CHIPS Act, the AI Act, and things of that nature. So essentially, long story short, this is one of the many platforms, and I think one of the more effective platforms, where the industry stakeholders, the government stakeholders, and NGOs and so on can really come together and align on what are the priorities in terms of how business use AI, what are the risks, what is the sustainability element of it, and things like that. So hopefully that sheds some light on your question.
Thank you, Dr. Brendan. I would like to hear how you are seeing this collaboration should come together.
So I see it in a similar way. I mean, the government here is putting in a lot of good initiatives. and I also see from the private sector, I mean, there is a huge amount of FDI investment from big companies, and this coming together. My own experience is also that the government is very willing to take advice and to work together with the different companies, the different stakeholders, to come to pragmatic solutions on legislation at different degrees. So I think this is on a good path. I think to move forward, probably we need to take the next steps in data accessibility. Probably the latest degree on data protection is helping this, but allowing industry access to I don't know, weather data, environmental data, which is relevant to help them create solutions which can help the local community, and to have standardized platforms for this. I think this would be a helpful step.
Thank you. Mr. Leo.
Thank you. We have seen, I think, a very good example in iPhone at HHRT, where this year we introduced automated gate. This requires the trucking companies, customs, work together in one system. And actually it has amazed us how quickly this has been embraced and adopted. In the beginning you have to take a hurdle, but once people see the benefit, then everybody embraces that new technology. So I think, from our own experience, I think there is, let's say, a willingness and a keenness to embrace new technology. So we are looking at, let's say, introducing further digitized solution in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Sun?
So I think AI is kind of very important to Vietnamese government. To put it in context, in October this year, the MOAT and EVN, they organized kind of consultation workshop on harnessing AI in power sector, and they've been working with GIZ on the analysis of AI and AI application in power sector. So in that consulting workshop, that we for the first time that we heard about some great findings about AI in Vietnam and how they're going to apply it in EVN companies, for example. It's also very interesting that the MOAT and EVN, they don't rely 100% on GIZ, but they also use another third party to give another, like, analyze it on the analysis of GIZ. So that to see that the Vietnamese government, they are really paying attention to it. And in terms of the development plan, by 2030, they are building like 5, if I'm not mistaken, 5 main energy data centralization data center over Vietnam. So imagine that now they have to gather a lot of information from rooftop solar system, from renewable energy system. The next step is how to process it and how to make it to make it grid stable. And the third point is with what is going now, the battery energy storage system, EV charging system. So that is impossible for government not to use AI, not to ask for the help from AI to gather all the information for them. Yeah.
Thank you. I believe everything has this fast pace, is pretty regulation hard to catch up. So definitely this collaboration is necessary. They are, from my perspective, I see the video, adapting some of them, but still they are missing some of them, which is pretty normal. For this to be pretty normal that some regulations cannot catch up with the technologies we are going to implement. Recently, I read that one of the big tech companies replaced the AI director layoff the AI director with AI, like the one who built the AI replaced by AI. So we cannot talk about sustainability, but keep AI and workforce separate. I would like to have a very short conversation with our panelists, how they keep the human always in the loop. Definitely, I believe in operational field, it is more possible, but in the office work, the desk workers is pretty challenged to keep them still in the base when AI have more efficiency in some aspect, and of course, a lower cost. We can go with Mr. San till Mr. Powell. Please go.
Okay. So I think Vietnamese company they don't trust AI yet. So for them now, AI is just kind of reference source, some ChatGPT source. Instead of spending hours searching information on Google, they can do it on AI. So to be honest, I don't see really a big threat for the short term. But of course, after that is we need to have a very clear strategy that AI can help the work faster and more efficiently, but the final decision and validation should be from the human, from our staff, from our experts. So if we maintain that strategy, I think that the employee, they will need to upskill themselves. They will need to learn how AI works, and in the same time they will work more efficiently. And I think it's a win-win situation for the companies.
Mr. Leo, please.
Thank you. Yeah, as I mentioned before, I think there is still some work to be done HR-wise, so making sure that your staff is, let's say, upskilled. It was mentioned before. People need to understand how AI serves them, helps them, and that decision or solutions that are presented still require a decision. So we are moving, let's say, a little bit away from the traditional container terminal industry by going to a data-driven model and decision making, for which, it is a transition, it's a transformation, and people need to be trained for that so that they can properly make use of AI.
Thank you. Dr. Brennan.
Yeah, so I definitely see AI as a tool to enhance capabilities. I have a feeling that some of us in the industry will have a nasty surprise if we try to replace people with AI completely. So for me, I see AI as a tool to support. Decision making, of course, can be delegated, but for a lot of things, there still has to be a human to rationalize the actual decision. I see a big advantage in AI with things like training, with upskilling, languages, translation, preparing documents, and so on, and also as a complementary skill, right? So, an example in object or pattern detection recognition, which a human is maybe not so good at, repetitive things, but the innovation and reasoning coming from the human part. So I see this sort of symbiosis coming forward, but not a replacement of the workforce.
Thank you, Paolo. You are working with your employees closely.
I mean, not much to add after all the panelists have spoken, but I'll try. I think, I sometimes have a hard time having enough software developers, for example, right? So I think replacing people, all technology replaces certain jobs, right? But I think if you look at what structural issues it can fix, I think there's a lot of benefits, right? For example, you can have now EKYC that's automated, you can have healthcare research being automated, digital twin, and so on. There's so many case studies where AI actually creates new opportunities and new jobs. I think another maybe last point is, for example, cybersecurity. Everything is now under threat because people are using AI agents to try to hack your bank accounts. So there's all these new jobs are being created as a result of this technology. So I think it's important to consider the losers of the technology, and of course there's a certain maybe economic solution for that, but you also need to understand new opportunities and new challenges that arise that will create new jobs because of these trends and these technological developments.
Thank you. I think it's pretty important to we put AI in which part of the system. We putting it before human operation, decision making, or after human operation and decision making. That's how AI can be enhanced as a tool, or the technology to automate and replace the human workload in some aspect. We have some questions from our panelists, which is our audience pretty impressive. I think this is for Dr. Brendan. It's like mentioned that for repetitive tasks, AI helps to save time. But you said for some critical work, human double check is still needed. So you have a human look back to check it. So how we decide which of the work is critical and which of the work should be need human involvement or not necessary to involve human? So it is waste of time if we put AI and we put human to check it. So how do you see this?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm not sure we have yet a 100% answer to this. I think we're moving along carefully in this direction. So we're starting off with obvious applications which we can delegate fully, and then moving along carefully. I mean, in the industry, we have evaluations. In the automotive industry, it's the ASL rating on safety relevance of different products or applications or usage. Also in the factory, we have different processes or safety guidelines. So I think rough rule would be wherever there is a safety guideline in place, so working with extreme temperatures, chemicals, moving parts, right? I would not let an AI agent loose on these without the safety nets in place, which I discussed earlier. And if you want to make a critical safety decision based on what the agent is saying, then this definitely has to have a human in place.
Thank you. Mr. Leo, would you like to add something, as you also have many critical decision making in your environment and autonomous systems? So how you?
Yeah, I think first the focus is on the repetition, and everything that is very repetitive, there is possibilities to use tools that, let's say, enhance the optimal result. But I think when it comes to decision making, as I mentioned before, that is still something that will be done by human. So optimization, yes, but to a certain extent, and reduction in workforce similar. So yes, there will be some optimization in the number of people running around on a container terminal, but they still will be required for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's pretty a little scary that we leave everything on AI and go and sleep. So tomorrow we're going to come back and see the world in chaos. There is one question from our audience. It's asking, in terms of investment, what is the easiest way to apply AI solution for your company or factory? Would any of our panelists want to take this question? Or I choose Mr. Powell, it's related to financial aspect.
The question is, what do you do to apply AI?
In terms of investment, what is the easiest way to apply AI solution for your company or factory?
Well, first, you can talk to an IT consultant, and then the second is you can probably talk to your internal in-house IT. But I think at the same time, you have to look at your operations as a whole, right? You have to see, what are the most manual processes that you have, most labor intensive. We talked about security, maybe the ones that are not so like a high level security threat, for example, right? So you have to identify these. I don't want to use business jargon, but you can identify low-hanging fruit, for lack of a better word, and really see how you can automate those things. And like I said earlier, the investment shouldn't be so complicated, right? You just look at the labor cost versus the application of AI, right? You can have, you can have your procurement, you can have your head of department look at the costs and run a pilot for us even, we ran pilots in a lot of different projects first. We didn't go big bang and invest in AI, not at all. So I think, just to summarize, you do pilots, you look at your head of departments, you see what their sort of easily automated processes are, and you have to try. Of course, you have the right security processes in place. So essentially, I think you put everything together we discussed in this panel and just sort of take the leap, right?
Thank you. To add up, I think starting with the data collection is pretty important. I know most of the companies around, even they didn't digitalize, they don't have a proper data collection. So we need to collect the data first, then we make those data with some purposes as information, those information used as a knowledge. And I believe when AI comes, it can be applied as wisdom to the knowledge behind all this system. We have a very impressive question. So when we talk about the critical systems, one of our audience asks is, AI is rapidly becoming critical infrastructure by itself, besides supporting critical infrastructure. Yet we rarely discuss how resilient AI can be itself for natural disasters or climate hazards. What it would look like to treat AI system as a climate-exposed critical infrastructure. Would any of panelists answer this question? This is pretty complex, important question, I believe so.
I could say something, but maybe that's not directly related to the container terminal itself, but it is of course shipping lines. They have a berthing window to bring their ship next to the berth. And I think what we see nowadays that AI is supporting, let's say, how fast or with what speed the boat or the vessel goes, knowing what the berthing window is, knowing what weather on the way they will experience, so they can find the optimal speed to arrive just in time without wasting, let's say, energy and then having to wait until the berth is free for them to be serviced. So that is an example that we see the shipping line being used, and that works quite well.
Thank you. It's look like AIB. Yeah, please.
Yeah, let me try and give another example here, because it's a complex question, right? So maybe one thing to start with. I mean, we talk a lot about automation in AI, and I would like to emphasize again, if there's a possibility to automate something very classically, then I would do that. I wouldn't add the extra complexity of putting an AI system on it. But maybe one thing for the critical systems, we see now, there was examples last month when the Amazon cloud went down and everything was offline for a long time. So I think it's important to consider these aspects, using agents which are not necessarily online or on railway. We're now looking at, I've been for a while, looking at what we call edge AI. So the AI is actually running on the application itself or in the plant, in redundancy, so maybe two AIs running in parallel to make sure we have this type of security.
Okay, very good. Sure.
So in the energy sector, as we have a very important new policy coming to component electricity price, that just make the situation more complicated for investor and developer, new energy investor and developer, because now it's not just only one price, but now we have capacity charge and total electricity consumption price. So in order to help the investor and the renewable developer to have a very interesting offer for the clients, they need to combine between rooftop solar system and BESS system, and second, the AI need to be the center of it, where it can allocate the energy source between the rooftop solar energy and the BESS system. And that is quite complicated because you know how to distribute and allocate those energy source in a good time in order to reduce the cost and increase the efficiency. So that is just, I think it's a good example in terms of applying AI in an infrastructure application.
Thank you. We hope one day we find AI self-sufficient, but pretty impressive point of views. We have a question from audience, which is pretty important to measure how AI application is good in our company, how we can measure it, how we can track it. So the question is, could you share some lesson learned from your implementation journeys? How do you measure efficiency or impact when adaptation of AI at your firm goes well or not? And are there any notable figures or metrics that you find particularly meaningful and the KPIs on that? Sure. It's open.
Well, I mean, I'll just give a very quick and easy metric is time, right? How much time a task takes before you apply the AI after. I think start with that. I think everything else will be more business and context specific, but time.
Any other panelists would like to?
Yeah, tend to agree. So it's classically measuring the process before and after introduction of AI. What we also measure is the penetration of usage on the associates, right? So for example, the GitHub Copilot is a classical example of a tool which is used to help with software development. So we are measuring just basically how many people have this installed and how much time they're using it for.
Good. I think they're beside GitHub, they are like lovable cursor. They are also adding too much to this implementation. Mr. Leo and Mr. Sun, would you like to add something, or we can go to our last question? I think I'm the only barrier in here between your insightful day and your chilling evening, other barriers AI has. So I would like to ask all the panelists how most of them have been long time living in Vietnam, working with a big corporation, different industries, different perspective. I would like to see, based on your past experience and what's going on in this dynamic, how do you find the vision of Vietnam in your industry or any other industries in general in next 5 years for 2030 sustainable achievement, and of course in the long term for 2050. Yes, please. Yeah, all panelists would like to share their own mind for.
So your question is about how the vision in the next 5 years. I mean, look, if you look at a high level, the government policy is digitization, right? We have the National Innovation Center in Hanoi. They want to move up the value chain in terms of manufacturing, moving into the semiconductor space. 5 years is quite short to achieve that, to be fair, but the fact that these conversations are happening, that there's also the right financial framework discussions happening, for example, this whole IFC topic, I think there's a lot of moving parts. It's difficult to see the big picture so far, but I think that being here for the last 10 years, I think they made a lot of good jumps. So I think it's important to be here for the long run. I think if you're an FDI company in Vietnam, it's not a short-term kind of quick buck here, right? You really got to be here for the long run. You have to be patient. I've done market entry services before, and I always tell clients, like, don't try to take shortcuts and move fast, because if you do everything right, things will move fast anyway. But you have to be patient, and you have to do your homework, you have to do your due diligence. Yeah, so I think it's a positive vision. You know, we are bullish on Vietnam as a company. Our clients are too. But yeah, just do your homework, I would say.
Thank you, Dr. Brennan. Please share your perspective and vision on that.
Yeah. So, to be honest, very similar opinion regarding policy and government and way forward. Tricky to look into the future. I think Vietnam is on a very good way forward with foreign investment, but also investing on local companies coming up. And I could see that there is a lot of opportunity in solving problems or looking at opportunities which are local to the region, Vietnam. I mean, we've been looking at wind power, onshore, offshore, other industries which are relevant, water and so on. Maybe one example off the top of my head, right? So local for local, Bosch has set up a company for shrimp farming, right? And this is using AI to control the water temperature, the water quality, the feeding, and so on, to improve the quality. And this is a very big industry in this region. And I think this is somewhere, so these sort of sustainable, targeted locally sort of initiatives from also local companies. I think this could be a big possibility for Vietnam.
Thank you. Impressive. Mr. Leo.
Yeah, we see that the government is definitely pushing and promoting most modern and most green in the container terminal industry. As I mentioned, we have in our form already introduced some automated features that help sustainability, and for further investments, I think we are looking to further increase, let's say, the investment in those sustainable solutions. And yeah, I think there is a lot to be gained, and we see really that there is an interest for Vietnam to step up and be more modern and green. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Sun, you can give the perspective. I'm also interested to see, beside AI, how do you see the sustainable and renewable energy perspective, because they are going tiki-taka together.
Definitely, to me, it would be more efficient, the vision of Vietnam in 5 years. So we just we can see it in a real example. Like we just finished, applying the digital identification system, VNAID, and since then, everything is very efficient, much faster, and we gather all information, and now everything is very transparent. And so I think we are going to the professionalism and transparencies of Western country, European country. More and more I see that, for example, in the tax system, now everything is very transparent, and no company can avoid paying tax in Vietnam. In terms of transparency and efficiency, I believe that we can see it it's not in 5 years, but I mean, next year we already see it. For in the renewable energy sector, as I mentioned before, with the new technologies coming in Vietnam and the application of AI in Vietnam, sooner or later we will see that it's Vietnam turning green, and with the help of AI, we see that the renewable energy sector and green sector here in Vietnam will be booming.
Thank you. I see the vision is pretty bright, but a little blur as well in some respect. I think we covered most of the general topic about AI. Beside that, we go deep down to some case studies in different industries. Of course, it's a pretty technical topic, and we cannot too much deep dive on it. AI is a pretty broad topic. We can talk about the tokenization price for the big data centers and processing, the application of the AI in very small companies, startups. I think our panelists will be happy if you can reach out to them after this event if you have any specific question related to the industry or AI application. I believe we have all different kind of panelists here in SME to big corporations. and definitely their experience in adaptation of technologies, digitalization, the journey that they have go through will be definitely useful for any company which in starting this path. Do you have any topic or perspective that would you like to share that I didn't cover it? Okay. It was pretty insightful for me as a person which is working on AI for a long time in climate tech. All the panelists had something top of my knowledge. Thanks for all the audience for this time being in here, listening to definitely insightful topic, but a long journey. Thanks for organizers, European Chamber, and whoever collaborate in this organization, and any company taking a path for a sustainable future in Vietnam or any part of this planet. Thank you, and give an applause to yourself and our panelists.
Thank you very much. And don't forget that after the session, we will have the networking party out there.